If you're dreaming of a fancier new bike, perhaps it's got internal storage or silent internal cable routing, maybe a fancy new paint job, well, stop for a second and think whether a few upgrades might get you a similar deal. I'm going to go through 10 of my favourites, and the best part about this is they're all under £50. If it's a silent frame that you're after, you might not have to upgrade to achieve that. These are phone vibration damping inserts. They're bike specific, and I bought them for $2.99. And all you do is thread these over your outer cables to stop them rattling on the inside of your frame. I also spent $2.99 on these little things as well, which are like rubber twizzles that go around your cables and they stop them rubbing against your frame and banging against your frame. You can also use some zip ties to just attach those cables together and stop the cables rattling together as well. And you can also buy some chainstay protectors. This is a nuke-proof specific one. It was only $9.99. It's all molded, but you can get cheaper ones, which might be neoprene or maybe just a harder material in order to stop your chain from hitting your chainstay, and that will quieten it down as well. If it's a fresher paint job or aesthetic to your bike that you're after, consider some custom decals. So some manufacturers for wheels or for handlebars will actually make specific coloured decals so that you can put them on and change up the appearance. And some aftermarket companies will even do custom ones for yourself. I got a custom one made for my Mudguard actually. And when you look at those pros on the racing world circuit with their custom fork lowers, often they're just a different sticker which you could purchase yourself. And if it's the frame change that you're after, think about Ride Wrap or Invisiframe or even this Dyedbro company, which will give you alternative colours projected onto a frame protection sticker so that you can make it look either a different colour or a different pattern. So if you don't have a modern frame that has integrated tool storage or lunch boxes or whatever on the down tube, then there are cheaper alternatives to that. Now you can get tools that go into your handlebars and maybe even into your steerer tube, but these can be quite expensive, certainly over £50. So for under £50, consider bottle cages that will allow you to attach or adapt multi-tools to them. Some of them will even have extra attachments like the Toe Peak Ninja, where you can slide a multi-tool in, and you may even be able to get a pump and some puncture repair kits in there as well. Now for even cheaper than that, because that can be around about under £50 per unit, for under £50, something like a Velcro strapped bag, like this PT's Tool Wrap, might allow you to carry everything you need on the bike in a small package anyway. So this one here has my multi-tool and my puncture repair in there. Now, as much as I love Garmin, nothing annoys me more than having to have my Garmin at the side of my stem on the handlebars, or generally getting it in the way of other things like lights when I go out night riding. So I am a massive fan of getting proper integrated Garmin mounts. So for example, I've got this one, which a friend of mine 3D printed, has my name on it. It has a bell attached to it, and you basically screw it into the bolts on the front of the stem. However, and this is my absolute favorite, actually my go-to, for only $9.99, you can have one that replaces a spacer above the stem so that your Garmin fits right over the stem. It's nice and neat, and you can choose a bunch of different colors to customize and accessorize your bike as well. Okay, you might sigh and yawn at this one, but get yourself some new inner cables. I mean, these things do degrade over time and they will effectively stretch. So your gears will be bad, your dropper will be bad, and that just makes you want a new bike. So replace your inner cables, maybe get yourself some fancy Shimano PF coated ones so that they're nice and smooth rolling, and maybe even go all out there and get yourself some colored cable ends as well. Now, if you're dreaming about a new set of brakes, that is obviously quite pricey. But a lot of the time, you can improve those brake systems with just upgrading your discs. Now, I always upgrade to stiffer, stronger, heat dissipating rotors so that my brakes feel a lot more powerful and some decent modulation, and they can withstand some weeks in the Alps, say for example. But of course, these can be around about £70, so it's a bit over budget. So if we're sticking to that under £50 mark, then maybe consider upgrading your brake pads instead. Consider whether organic instead of sintered will give you a nice modulaty, tacky feel, and maybe even upgrade to some finned pads so that they can heat dissipate as well. Now, if your tubeless valves are all a little bit gunked up, then maybe you want to be considering some new valves. And okay, I'm going to direct you towards something nice and colourful like this because it just looks good on the bike, doesn't it? But also something like the PT's whole shot tubeless valves do actually come with a spoke wrench and a valve core opener. So it's sort of getting two birds with one stone there and getting those integrated tools on your bike as well. But if you don't want to upgrade your entire valve system, then you can just buy an accessory kit where you can upgrade the valve caps, maybe get a little bit of color in there and get that integrated tool as well. Okay, grips. So I think this always shows up in an upgrade video, but it's true, these are a really great upgrade, not just because they come in fancy colors, but say you've got bigger hands, you might be getting hand ache if you're running too small a grip, and equally if you've got small hands like mine, you might want to switch to something slimmer if you're getting hand ache from running something too big. And if you run gloveless, then this is even more important to you. Perhaps you'll want a softer, stickier compound if you get sweaty hands, or perhaps you just want something a little gentler on the skin. So I actually switched to GFR1 ergon grips recently, which is run by the Canyon Downhill team because they're a lot softer and they have a nice bit of vibration damping to them as well. Headset caps and spacers can jazz up your front end. So you might want to add a bit of color, maybe a little motivational message to yourself, because these are one of those things that you will actually see on a regular basis, unlike some of the upgrades you'll be doing to the rest of your bike. Now, a mudguard could seem like a little bit of a lame upgrade here, but even if you went for the best mudguard on the market, perhaps around about £25, it can seem like a lot of money for a mudguard, but actually it's a cheap upgrade when you consider that it's not flicking mud up in your eyes, you can see better in the winter, and actually it takes a lot less effort to clean your bike at the end of the day. So, you know, maybe a good upgrade in the end. Okay, I'm going to give you a bonus upgrade here, because if you're wishing for new suspension, you might not be able to afford a new set of forks or a shock, and certainly you might not be able to afford some new dampers or even some magic wizardry that can make your suspension feel better. However, these things, spacers, can really change the feel of your fork, and they are quite cheap. So do consider those before you go out and get yourself any fancier widgets. Anyway, that is all of my list. That's all of my 10 favorite upgrades. Was there any on the list that you liked or any that surprised you? Let me know down in the comments below. What is your go-to upgrade for less than £50?